Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. We strive to be a congregation of compassion and justice, rooted in many sources of wisdom and many spiritual paths. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your hopes, your identities are welcome here. Believers in God, mystery, nature, love, queer and trans folks, immigrants and refugees, all of who we are and who we are becoming are held here as sacred. Welcome to visitors and newcomers and those online as well. We're glad you're here. After service, you can join us down in the Commons for refreshments and conversation, information on ways to get signed up for events or groups. There's a preschool playroom open throughout the morning for young ones just past the lobby, and activities for kids following the time for all ages, and all are welcome. There's also a fall activities booklet down in the lobby in the Commons to see all the goings-ons over these next few weeks. And there are crayons along the side of the sanctuary if you'd like to color in these meditative words that you should have been handed on your way in as well, that we'll reflect on a little bit later in the service. But you're always welcome to color or bring it home to color later as well. And a special welcome to Matt Meyer, our guest musician today. We're so glad you're here. Matt leads groups in song around the country and especially within Unitarian Universalism. And we're so grateful for you providing music for the service and then also leading a workshop right after service, 11:30 right here in the sanctuary. So if you'd like to explore the intersections of music, community, and justice, all are welcome to join that circle at 11:30. So go down, grab a cup of coffee, a donut hole or two, a snack, and then come back up at 11:30 for more music and community together. And speaking of that, this afternoon there's also our Prairie Band who will be featured at a fundraiser concert for Matt Schalke's education nonprofit. You can join them out at Essex Park for live music and community from 3 to 7 today on this beautiful day. So our Prairie Band will be playing at that this afternoon. You can see in the order of service, each month our offering goes out our doors to support justice work in the community. And for August, our justice partner is Saturday Noon Meals, a weekly meal and community for unhoused and food insecure folks in Rochester. All of our collection today goes to their work. You can give us a Plates Pass or anytime online. And a few special notes. We're getting into a very busy season, so I don't expect you to memorize all the things I'm about to say, but they're in your order of service in the e-news as well, but a few things just to lift up from that. Next week, Reverend Ruth will preach, and then the following week, September 7th, is our annual water communion ritual to begin our fall year. We're going to have one large service so we can be all together as a congregation at the Olmsted History Center at 10 a.m. So September 7th, 10 a.m. at the History Center, not here. So if you come here first, you'll be a little late for that, but you can still get there. We ask that you bring your own chair. We'll have a few extra as well. Bring a little water to share in our ritual from your garden hose or travels or from the drinking fountain on your way if you came here first. And then we'll also have a bag blessing. So backpacks, work bags, anything that you're bringing with you into this threshold for the fall for a blessing, whether it be a book bag for preschool or a defibrillator from the clinic, whatever you got. A chance to bring it for a blessing at this time of threshold. We need a few volunteers for that Sunday, so there's a sign up in the lobby if you want to help, just a few extra people around to help with some setup and cleanup of some items, so you can sign up if you're able and willing to help with that. And then the following week, September 14th, we return to our fall schedule of 2 services at 9 and 11. Finally, you can see the social justice table in the lobby if you haven't seen it yet, and the capes around as well for our newly named JEDI team in our work for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, words we still firmly believe in. You can stop by or learn more about their work and find more about an easy monthly checklist of ways to be involved in social justice work, big and small, to make the world a bit more loving, including donating shampoo to the Blue Barrel for Hawthorne Helps. And I expect to maybe see lightsabers in the future. I don't know. I like the whole Jedi theme, obviously, as my name is Luke, but you can not to take on too much of an identity there. But you can find out more about how to stay involved in that work. And then one final note. if you have extra things in your garden, you can start bringing them next week. We'll have a sharing table for extra produce to share with the community. So anything you need to be rid of or that you'd like to share with others, if you have too much cucumber, zucchini, whatever, bring it on Sundays to share with the community here. So that's a lot of things. So I invite you to take a breath. Take a breath as we gather in this time and remember how important and good it is to be together. As we enter our time of worship with these words from our minister in the 1870s, the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, may our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. In just a moment, the opening hymn, Hush, will call us back, but before that, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and greet those around you.
Hymn is 1040. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? It sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? It sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do?
Our chalice lighting is called The Healing in Freedom by the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Freedom has a rhythm to it, a longing our bodies know without words, a movement away from everything small and scared, a waking up to possibility, healing backwards and forwards. Even now, we are beginning again, unafraid of this much mercy, tenderness, pleasure. We come to lean in, to learn the sound of liberation like the sound of our names receiving and releasing. We come to be free from more than ourselves, to call love the greatest liberty, to sing of loyalty, courage, and kindness, to remember we are all doing the best we can. Despair hasn't gotten us yet, nor overwhelm, which is a kind of miracle, surrounded as we are by this much beauty. Come, let us worship together. We will now collect the offering.
I behold you, beautiful one. I behold you as a child of the earth and sun. Let my love wash over you. Let my love wash over you. I behold you, beautiful one. I behold you as a child of the earth and sun. Let my love wash over you. Let my love wash over you. I behold you, beautiful one. I behold you as a child of the earth and sun. Let my love wash over you. Let my love wash over you. I behold you, beautiful one. I behold you as a child of the earth and sun. Let my love wash over you. Let my love wash over you.
I'd like to invite the children forward right over here, and Matt is going to talk about his drums and do some stuff like that, I'm guessing. Sound good? Oh, a story to share, even better.
Well, today's service is about finding little moments of light shining through, even when we're feeling like we're stuck in darkness. Finding little moments of resilience, ways to connect with each other, even when that can feel hard. And so I have a story about someone who is feeling stuck and how a friend who is able to listen, hear their story, and help them out can help make their day a little better. This is a story called Desmond Gets Free. Now, Desmond the mouse lived in the most beautiful meadow in all of the land. Every morning, Desmond would wake with the sunrise and spend the whole day long playing in the middle of the meadow. And every night, Desmond would go to sleep right in the middle of the meadow under the beautiful starry sky above. One night, though, Desmond woke and saw that it was still dark out, so he tried to get more comfortable and roll over and go back to sleep, but something was not right. He could hardly move, and his tail was throbbing with pain. Reaching behind him, he felt that there was it felt like some sort of huge boulder had somehow fallen just in the middle of the meadow, right on his tail. So he tried pushing this giant boulder with all of his strength, but it wouldn't budge. And when that didn't work, he tried tugging on his tail to get loose, tugging with all of his might, but it didn't work. And he tried pushing and tugging and tugging and pushing over and over and over again, till finally he was out of breath and he was exhausted and he had just about given up when he saw another animal passing by through the meadow. It was a tall giraffe. And he called out, "Oh, giraffe, it seems that some sort of boulder has fallen just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could use your powerful legs to push it, well, even just a few inches in the other direction, I could get free." Well, the giraffe laughed at Desmond the way giraffes do. "You silly mouse," he said. "That's no boulder that's fallen on your tail in the middle of the meadow. That is an elephant that's fallen asleep on your tail in the middle of the meadow." Well, Desmond thought about that for a moment and thought, well, maybe that's good news. In that case, if you could just gently wake the elephant and ask him to roll over even just a few inches in the other direction, I could get free. "I don't know about that," said the giraffe. "Surely you must know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie." "I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times such as these." "Well," Desmond sighed, "I do not appreciate your neutrality." The giraffe wandered off, leaving Desmond alone again. And so he tried shouting to wake the elephant, but those giant elephant ears at the way other end of that giant elephant body, they were just too far away. And his little mouse voice, it was just too quiet. When that didn't work, he tried pushing again with all of his strength, and he tried tugging his tail with all of his might, and he tried shouting and pushing and tugging and pushing and shouting over and over again, till he was out of breath and exhausted, and he had just about given up when he saw another animal pass by through the meadow. This time it was a gazelle. And he called out, "Oh, gazelle, it seems that an elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could just wake him up and ask him to roll over even just a few inches in the other direction, I could get free." "I don't know about that," said the gazelle. "Surely you must know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie." "I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times such as these." The gazelle wandered off, and Desmond said, almost to himself this time, "I do not appreciate your neutrality." One last time, he tried shouting with all of his little mouse voice. He tried pushing with all of his mouse strength and tugging with all of his little mouse might, and he tried shouting and pushing and tugging and tugging and pushing and shouting over and over again, till he was exhausted and out of breath, and he had just about given up for the last time, when he saw another animal pass by through the grass. And this time it was another mouse. And when he called out, that mouse ran right over and introduced himself. He said, "My name is Nelson. What seems to be the problem?" Well, no sooner had Desmond explained the situation than Nelson ran all the way to the other end of that giant elephant body, and he shouted up to those giant elephant ears at the top of that giant elephant head. He said, "Excuse me! It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could roll over just a few inches in the other direction, he could get free." Well, the elephant heard Nelson's little mouse voice way down on the ground, but those giant elephant ears at the top of that giant elephant head, they're just too far away. And Nelson's mouse voice, it was just a little too quiet. And between you and me, I think that elephant was just a little too comfortable. So he didn't move. Nelson thought about this for a moment before he ran back to Desmond and he said, "I think I might have a plan. Stay right here. Don't move." and he ran off into the grass, leaving a confused look on Desmond's face. And just when Desmond was starting to get worried again, Nelson emerged back through the grass. But this time, he wasn't alone. He had found 3 other mouse friends, and each of them, they had each done their job. They had each found another 3 friends as well. The whole group of them ran to the other end of that giant elephant body, and one mouse, she climbed up on the shoulders of another, and another mouse climbed up on her shoulders, so they had a whole mouse ladder all the way up the back of that giant elephant head. And finally, Nelson climbed up the shoulders of his friends one by one, till he stood right at the opening of that giant elephant ear. And he shouted with all of his voice, "Excuse me! It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail in the middle of the meadow. Roll over, just a few inches so he can get free." Well, this time he was just too close and too loud to ignore. And so the elephant said, but then he rolled over, just a few inches in the other direction. Nelson and his friends climbed back down to the ground, and they met up with Desmond, who was free at last. And the whole group of them, they spent the rest of that day playing together at the edge of the meadow. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said that if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you've already taken sides. You've taken sides with the powerful and with the oppressor. And he said, if an elephant is standing on the tail of a mouse, the mouse will never appreciate your neutrality. Archbishop Tutu believed in a God who took sides with the orphan and the widow and the oppressed everywhere. And as Unitarian Universalists, we may or may not share a belief in that same God, but we have covenanted to build a world of justice and equity and compassion, a Jedi world. And that means imagining a world very different from the one we see around us today. So it means we come together in community to listen to each other, to take small actions, to do together what we could not do alone, and to take sides for justice, to take sides for equity. It means that we come together in community to side with love. May it be so, dear ones, and may we make it so.
We will now sing the children out with the children's benediction. It can be found in the back inside cover of your hymnal, and I will head on down.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. Here, we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Cynthia Dalby and Joyce Wood serving as our caring coordinators, arranging care for our members and friends. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And life can be challenging. We could all use some extra support with what life throws at us. And if you are experiencing those challenges in your life, we encourage you to reach out for support and help. If you need additional care or personal pastoral care, please reach out to Reverend Luke with that request. Today's flowers are shared by Barbara Fleischman on behalf of John and Barb Meyer, who generously bring gladiolas from their farm to St. Mary's Hospital and many area churches. Their gift reminds us of the beauty that connects us all. When these gladiolas are present on Sundays, you are warmly invited to take a stem home with you as a living reminder of the service and the community we share. We thank them for their generosity. In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because we strive to let all people know they are valued. We believe that each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. And we revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. We hold Kirk Payne and his family in our hearts as they remember his mother, Shirley Payne, who passed away last Saturday in Omaha, Nebraska at the age of 93. A music teacher and the center of a large, loving family, her life was surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. May her memory comfort all who knew her. And we hold Kim Norton and her family in love and compassion, following the unexpected passing of her father, David Jones, at the age of 92 on August 6th. Though Kim was away at the time, David was surrounded by family as he made his transition. May we hold them in the light of peace and care. And next Saturday, August 30th at 1 p.m., we will gather here to honor the life of our beloved member Mason Robinson, who died on June 25th while on work study in Australia. Together, we will hold Mason in love and light, sharing memories and music as we celebrate the gift of their life. All who knew Mason are warmly invited to join in this celebration of remembrance and community. Cards of support and well wishes are welcome for all. The list that is compiled weekly contains several members and friends of the church experiencing sadness or celebration, and is posted in the entryway of the church as well as through a link in your e-news. We provide cards and postage and welcome you to leave them near the basket downstairs for mailing. Here, our service to each other and to the wider world is our focus. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth and its ancient turning. Above you the sky, and beyond that the stars shining with their ancient light, holding you in this moment, this breath. Be yourself made of earth and stars. Know that in this house you're named and known as beloved. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life and love, God and Gaia of 1,000 names and beyond all naming. Help us find this day and each day some place of shelter, of sanctuary for the soul, remembering that shelter is not to hide or fade away, but a place to retain our strength in the midst of storm. Help us notice the tiny miracles of the day, in a few slow breaths between ongoing obligations, or in the steam rising from a cup, or the crisp morning air greeting us, the laughter of someone we might not even know, or the kindness that can greet us when we least expect it. Help us notice what often goes unnoticed, the small moments of possibility, of freedom, of beauty, to root ourselves over and over again in love. We hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names of the people and the places you're holding in your own heart this day in joy or sorrow, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. names spoken and unspoken. May we be held in love. These words of meditation are from Annie Lightheart, entitled A Great Wild Goodness. One morning I was looking out the window when a great wild goodness came over me. I wanted to be kind to everything. I promised not to kill the big spider on the wall. And in the cold, I took the dog for the long walk she'd been waiting for, and I fetched a trash can lid for an ornery neighbor, and did not just then add a single adjective to his name. I went back inside to the laundry and the dishes with a clean heart such as I've never had. Before dinner, the wild goodness shouted to me, "Too tame, too tame." And so I went outside without my coat and I shouted poems up to the stars until my children came home with their small warm hands and we ate bread in the kitchen, unafraid to be happy. The stars and the wild darkness were right over our heads. May that be so. Amen. The hymn is Sweet Spirit of Life and Love. It's in your order of service. I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing. This is a song that Leah Morris, another beloved musician that we encounter in Unitarian Universalist circles, wrote. She said she heard it in her mind so clearly while on a commuter train, she swore it was coming from the speaker above her head that inspired her to write it. So I'll sing it through once and then we'll sing together. Sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, spread your wings and shelter me. Sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, spread your wings and shelter me. Sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, spread your wings and shelter me. One more time. Sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, sweet Spirit of life and love, spread your wings and shelter me.
The reading is Telephone Repairman by Joseph Miller from his poetry collection Overtime. All morning in the February light, he has been mending cable, splicing the pairs of wires together according to their colors, white blue to white blue, violet slate to violet slate, in the warehouse attic by the river. When he is finished, the messages will flow along the line. Thank you for the gift. Please come to the baptism. The bill is now past due. Voices that flicker and gleam back and forth across the tracer-colored wires. We live so much of our lives without telling anyone, going out before dawn, working all day by ourselves, shaking our heads in silence at the news on the radio. He thinks of the many signals flying in the air around him, the syllables fluttering, saying, "Please love me," from continent to continent over the curve of the earth.
We Unitarian Universalists are descended on our Unitarian side from the Puritans. Where I come from in Boston, that history is still perhaps too much with us. Once upon a time in our congregations, there was a great controversy, a controversy that divided families against each other, that had people excommunicated and walking out of services. It was the heresy of whether to allow hymn singing in church on Sundays. But before the heresy of hymn singing came and caused so many fights and debates, we only sang the Psalms, and we only sang them in call and response together. And so we'll do this song in a little bit of that spirit. I invite you to just hum along with the drone, to hum along with any part of the song, or if you know it, sing along with us and add some harmonies. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. That's the whole thing. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves to the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. It is time. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves to the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, in this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Thank you. How could something so small cause something so big? A phrase I'm sure you've said in some context in your life, probably recently. How could something so small have so much power or impact? Maybe said about some seemingly small change or a small child or one small comment or brief interaction, something seemingly minuscule, changing everything about your day, your life, the community, the world. Something so small can make a huge difference. Maybe you've said it about a pin-sized hole in a water pipe or a car tire or something else. It makes so much impact. One of my earliest memories of this was hiding under a blanket or a sheet as a kid, maybe as part of a costume or fort building. I can remember playing on the living room floor of a friend's house, and we'd try to build a fort often that would block out all of the light. You know how hard that is on a bright summer day? Especially with Grandma's big knit blanket that had so many intentional large holes and spaces in it. Not helpful, Grandma, but even the ones you thought were solid, that you'd gather and place between this stool or this chair or this piano bench, you thought they were woven tight and sure and solid, and you put it over you and you'd crawl under, and then you'd look and you'd see through any tiny speck of light still would make it through, finding its way. A tiny pinhole of light, it seemed, between all the stitches would break through the darkness. Sometimes no matter how hard you'd try. So often we try to structure something like that, so solid, so clear and defined and foolproof, only to remember in humility, as Leonard Cohen said, forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Sometimes we do this in our community life or our justice work or in our personal lives, trying to button up every little detail, to hold it all together, thinking that that is possible. We want a strategic plan for every possibility, every day even, clarity in direction, clear outcomes and objectives, and sometimes it works out and we figure it out. We want it all covered. I've got it covered. The phrase goes, maybe you've said to yourself or others. Perhaps you've said it more than you want or know or even believe deep down, even if sometimes it feels true. But we feel so compelled in this modern culture, the demands of competency, efficiency, effectiveness, as our culture and our religious heritage has at times equated such things with our worth. You're worthy if you're productive. A member here shared a poem with me not long ago, which in part says we need not, and in fact cannot, live and act as if we've got all our stuff together. It's a challenge, and I'm preaching to myself here as I shared with the staff this week as we try to get all the fall things together, button up all the details, to remember we have to work together. The poem says, how do you kill community? Be self-sufficient. Always have enough. Always have it together. Always have all the tools you need. Never need to borrow a sewing needle or a cup of sugar. Never tell anyone you're breaking down. Never need anyone. The poet says, you not knowing how to do everything creates the occasion for the village to reconstitute and know itself again. So you might not have all your stuff together. And if we think we do, well, then we probably definitely do not. Sometimes it's true that we are more powerful, more creative, more able to do more or be more than we thought possible. That is a miracle as well. And sometimes we need a whole lot more help beyond our own agency to keep our well-being alive. And in the state of the world right now, I don't know about you, but I want to stitch it all together. I want strategic, clear plans and certainty. When we know, though, on a deep down level, some things can be done and some things can't be, which can make it hard to know how to act. A book recently shared with me called The Spirit of Hope is by South Korean philosopher Byung-Chul Han. He speaks of hope beyond the surface level, happy-go-lucky, everything will turn out okay sort of falsehood, to the deeper levels throughout history and culture and philosophy and spiritualities. And the part that I needed to hear among many was this, where he quoted Václav Havel, advocate for human rights in the midst of regimes and authoritarianism, sound familiar, in Czechoslovakia years ago, writing this: "The kind of hope that I often think about, especially in situations that are particularly hopeless, as in prison, above all, it's a state of mind, it's a dimension of the soul, an orientation of the spirit." They said it transcends the world right in front of us that we immediately experience, because it's not the same as joy that things are just going well or headed for some early success, but it's an ability to work for something just because it's good, not because it has a chance to succeed. It's not the same as optimism, they write, but the certainty that something makes sense regardless of how it may turn out. What I needed to hear in my soul, maybe you do too, is the difference between a hope that is about simple persistence, keeping on the long haul work of it, which is important too, but also that our acts of kindness, compassion, justice are not only about results, but integrity. You do the right thing here and now because you know it's right, not any certainty about how it will turn out. Maybe if we have a helpful, efficacious way of doing it, good things will come of it. But either way, you have to live with yourself and with each other for a shared future, to make choices we know are right and ethical and just, even when we have no idea of their outcome. Dr. King spoke of this often in the midst of civil rights, that if it's the political question would ask, is it productive? Is it popular? But the ethical question asks, is it right? You do the right thing because it's the right thing. And sometimes it's unclear what that is, but that's the path you follow. And modern culture twists this around to demand that every action has a measurable, justifiable outcome. Spirituality, though, asks us to just take a breath, literally through spiritual practice, meditation, but also to pay attention to something deeper, truer, and lasting. When I first began ministry, a mentor spoke to me of their early days of ministry, which was about 20 or so years before then. She spoke of things that were worse then, the things that were better when she started, and one thing she missed on a deep level was that there was little to no email. She said, it was around, but not like it is now. And she said, while that made some things definitely harder about planning and communication, she said, I love that if someone needed to share information with me, they sent a letter to the church, or they called on the phone, or they walked there. They came to the church and set up a meeting. She said it was far less overwhelming, the amount of information I would have to hold. And I'm thinking of that in these days too. Not as a jab to email. You can still email me. It's all good. That's not what it's about. There are ways that all these tools can be used for good. But something like a phone call or an in-person conversation or a slowing down of the intensity of our lives, however that can take shape. Like those tiny little wires along the telephone poles held up, strung in the air, something so small, holding together hope and grief and love and community. As one spiritual teacher calls it, the speed of the soul. How are you holding your life at the speed of your soul? And yet and still, without the efficiency of all the gadgets, the messages during those times kept passing through generation to generation in story and song and grace. And in that way, it's as if the ancestors well before us, known and unknown, keep sending us messages through time. They keep making their way along these tattered lines of choices to live more freely and boldly and gladly. It's like a wild goodness calling to us, reminding us to be less tame in our loving of the world, to not be afraid of being insufficient, because that can make us hesitant to act at all. But if we are freed from the perfection of a certain or specific outcome, perhaps then we're freed to love more authentically, to love even our ornery neighbor with no adjectives and be unafraid to be happy. And maybe that sense of integrity and assuredness leads us not to just love our neighbor moderately no matter what, but fiercely. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, in the midst of his work against the Nazis, first focused on love your neighbor, and it quickly shifted to act responsibly. Love your neighbor calls you to act responsibly, even when you're not sure what the outcome will be. The messages flow along the line, writes the poet. Thank you for the gift. Please come to the baptism. The bill is now past due. They write, voices flicker and gleam back and forth across the wires because we live so much of our lives without telling anyone, they write. Going out before dawn, shaking our heads in silence at the news, and flying in the air, syllables fluttering, the messages saying, please love. So here we are indeed, shaking our heads at the news over and over, longing to be more connected than we know how. The words you have in your order of service, conveniently bubbled so that you can fill them in, come from a few sources, including the Talmud, which is the collective commentary of teachers and writers reflecting on ancient Hebrew scriptures in the Jewish tradition. This one reflecting on the words of the prophet Micah, chapter 6, to do justice, love kindness, and go humbly with God. I invite you to take it home with you. Put it somewhere, whether in your home or in your car or at your work, somewhere. And when you are overwhelmed with the world, I'm making an assumption there that you are sometimes. When you are overwhelmed, be it within the small confines of your daily living or the largest stories of the day in a heartbreaking world, remind yourself of these words. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, love mercy now, move humbly now with the holy, God, Gaia, mystery, love, without any necessity to complete something specific, but to always keep the spirit of love and justice in your living. So what voice? Here's one voice from ancient teaching, but what voice of wild goodness that sounds like justice and freedom cuts through the noise of the world, the incessant noise of the news cycle, the quick and depleting too muchness? What words and practices, people, beloveds, are helping you cut through so that you hear the echoes of frayed wires and messages reminding you that your offering of love and compassion need not be perfect to be right? As we'll sing in just a moment, we need all the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers of all the people for this work, including yours. I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing, Do You Hear? invite you, as you're comfortable, place a hand on your heart or toward the sky or earth in gratitude and hear the echo of this message and these words from John Murray, who still sings to us and who sang even in the time of those Puritans, cutting through with a message of love. Go yonder, and gather the people. Give them not hell, but courage and hope. Give them something of the love you have found here, and tell all the people that love is our home.